Alright. One second there. Yeah, that works. Alright, audio test, audio test. Is everything looking alright for the most part? Should. I hope. Scene's looking alright. Head still big, I suppose. I mean, a nice CSS for the YouTube chat here, so I can get rid of the whole chat button or sign into chat. Is there anything else I am missing? I don't think so. Just kill this. Testing, 1, 3. Hoping the audio quality sounds good. Did kind of drop the mic accidentally the other day, kind of hoping it still sounds good and ready to, you know, still push out some streams. Alright, I think for the most part we are Gucci. If anything, guys will let me know. Anyway, Wagwan gentle people, and there's that noise there. Anyway, Wagwan gentle people, Uchiha here, and welcome back to the channel. Of course, it's the end of April, so you don't know end of month subscriber stream. Don't know how this one, you know, for the most part, I don't know how a lot of these streams tend to go, because, you know, some streams I say, oh, you know, I'm not gonna be long, and, you know, of course it depends on the engagement and the turnout a lot of times. So yeah, pretty much that. But yeah, man, welcome and shout out to those of you who'll be joining during and after. Of course, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, if anything. So yeah, I'm here, as you can see, as per usual, fresh from work. Haven't even changed yet, but we are here and ready to kind of do some discussions, or at least hopefully a engaging discussion on the potential, well, nothing potential, but the next arc of Boruto Two Blue Vortex. As you know, coming out of chapter 33, it does seem like this most recent arc is about to end. I kind of predict that we might have maybe an additional chapter or 2 at most before going into the next arc, but I kind of wanted to start talking about, like, even just my expectations going into said next arc. All in all, when you compare it, or when I kind of, yeah, when I do compare this to like a lot of the previous arcs, yeah, in terms of length, yeah, it's pretty much comparable and pretty much the same, because again, the last arc with the mission to the Sand Village, it does seem like bada bing bada boom, it's the same length, because that arc started around chapter 17, 18 and ended at chapter 25, and this arc started at chapter 28, 27, and we are going into chapter 34 now. So yeah, I think this arc has done its has done its time, to be honest, because right now, like, if this arc has 1 or 2 more chapters like I'm predicting, then those chapters are the chapters to actually look out for. Not that the last arc was bad. Of course, Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan was a big highlight, but I mean, I was not expecting getting a battle between Jura and Boruto, and then Kawaki and Jura at the end of last arc. So who knows, if we're continuing the momentum of like very impactful arc endings, we might get something special for the next chapter or 2. So that's going to be something to potentially look out for. I'm kind of hoping, because at this point we are down to Hidari and Jura, hence the thumbnail, because I'm kind of, well, I think for the most part Sarada is going to be one of the main highlights for the next arc. And Hidari, obviously, Jura is going to be left for last. So, I think it's like just the writing on the wall that Hidari versus Sarada is going to be something to look out for the next chapter, honestly. And of course, it'll probably be centering around, like, not the only thing, obviously, but it'll center around Sarada, getting back her vision, or working and getting an internal Mangekyo or something tying back to the history of the Uchiha clan. I'm hoping just to kind of make it feel a bit more connected, because even though in some cases Boruto feels like it can stand on its own, but it's not in the isolated universe at the end of the day. So you gotta make it more dynamic, engaging, believable, kind of reminding us that we're not an island at the end of the day when it comes on to this story. So yeah. But just to kind of even recap a bit coming out of this last chapter before we talk more on even the predictions for the next arc. I mean, like, again, this was a very solid chapter. Coming off my reaction review last week. If you missed it, you can definitely go on the channel and check it out. But yeah, this was a very solid chapter, with the only like negatives for me personally being just the underwhelming the underwhelming nature of the Shinju. Like, again, I've said it before and I say it again, and just to kind of paraphrase Afro Senju on his thoughts on Momoshiki back years back, like, the Shinju seem simultaneously threatening and simultaneously threatening and ass at the same time. I don't know how they do it, but they're doing it. To be honest, like, it just seems like they don't really have like stage presence, even though on paper, again, narratively, the story wants us to, or is telling us that these enemies, these antagonists, are like next level beyond Jigen, etc., etc. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But yes, again, outside of that, the big brain move by Inojin, which comes as a surprise because like, we know when it comes on to the Boruto manga, it's only a certain set of characters really get the spotlight. And yeah, even though Inoshika Cho of this generation have been, gotten like some panel time here and there, but nothing significant. So to see them actually let a side character get the winning blow, I think that's a very big, very, very big sign that, like, we're not really working with it. We're waiting on Goku syndrome when it comes on to this story. Like, it's a very big indication that like any character can really step up and really get a spotlight, making the story much more engaging and dynamic. Hence why even in the title for this stream, I'm thinking if Sarada is going to get like a big spotlight for next, arc, like, would make sense if we continue that same side character support energy, like how we got with Inojin. I wouldn't be surprised if Cho Cho, yes, Cho Cho, gets like some nice spotlights for next arc as well, alongside Sarada. I mean, based on how they've kind of like portrayed things between the characters throughout the entire, Boruto medium, whether it be anime, manga, I guess more specifically anime, that, Cho Cho and Sarada has that friendship thing going on. And of course, in the anime only tuning exams, we do have, Sarada versus Cho Cho. So I don't know, it might be a good thing to have that dynamic duo, quote unquote, have that time to shine when it comes on to the next arc. But I'm just throwing things at the wall here too. So food for thought, food for thought. But let's see. But yeah, this last chapter was amazing, man. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. But where do we even start? So of course, coming out of this last chapter, we have the return of Code for the next arc, right? Because we're basically ending this arc, and if we're introducing Code back again now, I would expect that we will be getting him a lot coming for the next arc. And like, going into said, story or narrative, personally, I'm kind of hoping that we get a flashback, some backstory when it comes on to Code, something to kind of hook us into him more. Because really and truly, Code right now is kind of like the butt of everybody's jokes, and I am kind of expecting that he's going to do something for us to laugh at him again. So I think outside of just laughing at him and all of us, kind of circle jerking and laughing at him. Like, it would be good to have something else to kind of hook us into his character, to be a bit more, have something to look forward to when it comes on to him, because right now he's not doing it. It's not like he can go up against Jura or, well, based on how the narrative is playing, not neither Hidari, neither Boruto, and I don't Kawaki either. So that's the thing. We need something else to kind of hook. And it would be interesting to see if he goes about things a bit differently. Like, because obviously he's sneaking around, he's looking around, etc., etc. But I'd be surprised if Jura doesn't sense him, And yeah, a backstory is definitely needed. But outside of that, the fact that he's here, and of course specifically on the tree with Bug, I'm kind of wondering if he's been secretly watching like the events that have been taking place in Konoha since, let's say, I kind of want to say maybe since maybe chapter 25, possibly. In all the confusion and Mamushi invasion, it's possible that he could have snuck back in, planted back another, claw mark so he could actually watch and observe. And of course, we did have the whole, Moegi getting, restored. So I'm kind of wondering if he's trying to, or if he has some idea in terms of the Thorn Soul Bulb to see if, like, Boruto might come here, or you might try to strike a deal with Boruto to come here and kind of somehow snatch the Thorn Soul Bulb, but use it for something else. Possibly, I don't know. So there's that. But I think above all else, I think a backstory is what's really needed for Code right now. Of course, I have kind of joked in the past that he might do something to potentially summon more Otsutsuki. Who knows? I don't know. But that's also a possibility too. So there's that. It would also be funny if we have like a Code versus Kawaki match, or Code versus Sarada. That would be interesting too. But that's possibly later down in the arc, maybe like, I don't know, 5-6 chapters from now, possibly. So yeah, but again, I know I keep repeating myself, but a Code backstory I think is definitely needed for this, right? I think the next thing as well, even though I don't expect it, because any expectations or any predictions when it comes on to like legacy or previous characters showing up, I don't think is going to happen. So I don't even want to talk much on that. I mean, it is possible we did get Konkuro for a bit at the start of the previous arc. So with everything that's going on in Konoha, probably from a writing perspective, the pattern might be like have a legacy character talk and comment on something. But again, even if that's going to be the case, it has to be a character that like really and truly hasn't been I don't know, it has to be somebody outside of Konoha, else I don't think it's going to make sense, like from another village, because there's too much I think there will be too much justification to be done from a manga perspective why certain characters aren't showing up. So it might be like, oh, the Raikage, oh, the Clog Rhyme showed up in another village, etc., etc., something along the lines of that. So I think it could be that. And of course, it could, I mean, of course, the 5 great nations, the 5 major villages have an alliance, but probably Ikimoto and Kishimoto could be leading up to like that pattern of, oh, let's have the Clog Rhyme and a Shinju show up in a different country, and then it kind of leads up to all countries being attacked by the end of this, or most countries, and then we have some kind of I don't want to say alliance, but something to convince the feudal lords of each nation to kind of, you know, you know, let's increase back the budget to the villages, because it seems like in these times the budget isn't really for the villages isn't really like the biggest. So it could be something along the lines of that to kind of tie him back that feudal lord, subplot, and kind of probably kind of might be a way to include the feudal lords from other nations. So there's definitely that, and overall just get them more involved, kind of like the chaperone it was for this arc so far. And of course, I would be disappointed if that subplot it just gets completely dropped going forward. Obviously I think it's going to come back, so I think that's something to look out for going forward. So yeah. Now, Sarada. Like I think it's kind of obvious, but this next arc, I don't want to say it's going to necessarily center around her, but considering I strongly believe Hidari is going to be the next Shinju to, for us to kind of tackle. Whether he might betray Jura or not is another like topic of discussion, but he'll definitely be the next Shinju to actually tackle. So at this point, obviously that kind of ties things in with Sarada in the grand scheme of things, and by extension anything involving her Mangekyo Sharingan, her potentially getting a eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, etc, etc. Personally, I don't know how much Sarada knows about, say, the Uchiha clan, but if we're going to have a potential arc with Sarada being a major player, and we're still, on that whole journey of her becoming Hokage, I think with a character like Hidari, who can, as we've seen with Bug and Mamushi, that connection, they can tap into the memories. The Shinju can tap into the memories of its host. So I'm wondering if it would be a good time for Sarada to, one, at least have Ikimoto communicate with the audience what Sarada knows about the history of the Uchiha, and probably through Hidari's link with Sasuke, probably we can find out how Sarada find out some dark truths, maybe just maybe. So there's definitely that, because of course in the Shinju's attempt to become, say, more human and understanding emotions and all of that, probably Hidari drawing from Sasuke's memory could probably pose the question like, Sarada, why do you want to become the leader of this village, etc, etc, exploring those type of emotions. What would you rate the chapter? I wasn't expecting Inojin to be the MVP. The chapter to me is an easy 9 out of 10. Welcome, Akarza. By the way, hope you're doing good. It's definitely a 9 out of 10. And yeah, man, I wasn't expecting Inojin to get the W, to be honest. The MVP, bro, honestly. I think it's a very good sign. Like, in a story or series like this, when you have a lot of dynamic, like a lot of characters. What's the term? Ensemble cast? Inojin is the last person I would expect, one of the last person I would expect to get the win for this, honestly. And of course, the circumstances kind of facilitated. Certain, dominoes were in place for him to get it, but honestly, it was very unexpected when you have, coming towards the end of this whole conflict with Mamushi, or say, you have Boruto, especially since Boruto got the scientific ninja weapon upgrade and the Momoshiki boost upgrade via Karma. You have Kawaki coming off last arc, who got his stat redistribution. You have Sarada. You have those 3 heavy hitters when it comes on, and of course Damon. Of course, you have those 4 heavy hitters when it came on to this arc. So Inojin getting the win, I think, is and was a good move on Ikimoto's part, honestly. And it makes it feel a lot more dynamic, because obviously coming into this arc and Inojin using learning his new technique, the mind transmission formation. Yeah, hopefully I'm getting the name right there. Like, you know, of course, the utility, seeing the side characters have utility is one thing, but having him essentially tactically beat, beat the big bad of the arc, I thought that was good. The only problem, as I was saying during my review and even earlier, a few minutes ago, was the only negative is just the underwhelming nature coming of Mamushi coming out of the arc. Yeah, he's a threat with his division and everything, but I don't know. The best way I could describe it is just the stage presence. It seems weak. To be honest, it just seems weak. So honestly, that's it was like the only negative for me personally. So just that. But other than that, I guess the silver lining to that as well. I'm kind of just glad Mamushi's out of the way. Like, to be honest, for me, the faster like the Shinju we rinse through them, the faster we can get to what Ikimoto is planning in the long term. Because I'm hoping it's something good. I've done a video a few months back talking about are the Otsutsuki even alive, much less. So I'm hoping he proves me wrong, because the vibe from the story, it feels like there are no other are not many Otsutsuki even left when it comes on to the broader universe. So yeah. But anyway, as I was saying, in terms of like my thoughts and discussions when it comes on to the next arc, as I said, Sarada, I'm hoping we get something juicy, like something very in-depth when it comes on to, you know, something you can push her to say, yo, we're still on the journey to become Hokage. Something, some kind of gray area type of conflict, internal conflict or external conflict between her and when it comes on to reconciling the past of the village and what's going on now. And I think using Hidari and his connection with Sasuke and the knowledge Sasuke has, having Hidari tap into that and in his journey to actually learn and understand and try to become more human, kind of, you know, put that on the table and question Sarada in their obvious like future conflict or fight that's going to be coming up more than likely. So sorry. So yeah, I'm kind of expecting that for the next arc. So to be honest, I wouldn't mind if the next arc is a bit long. So that's what I'm kind of predicting and hoping for when it comes on to the next chapter, because I think Sarada, if you're taking the manga specifically, alone, or just alone, take the anime out of it, I think she has some depth as a character, but it can, in some instances, when I think about it, sometimes it can still feel borderline like how I feel about Boruto and his character in Two Blue Vortex, where yeah, he has that badass Uchiha energy, all of that, but it just feels like there's something missing when it comes on to depth and me kind of empathizing with Boruto. That emotional resonance, you know, like I feel like that's one of the things that's kind of missing with some of the characters from an audience standpoint. And of course, it's not like it's mandatory, but for me personally, it would be something that would help me to enjoy and, you know, rate the series even higher. So that's all I'm saying. So that's the thing. That is definitely the thing. And I mean, as I said, going forward, all things considered, we'll definitely have to figure out how things are going to go. Wait, one second. Yeah, sorry about that, peeps. Maybe I was asking for a little favor there. But where was I? I feel like I left off. Yeah, obviously I think with all things considered, in terms of the whole narrative when it comes on to her Mangekyo Sharingan, we'll have to we'll have to explore that as well. As Himawari was saying in this chapter, obviously she's healed her eyes, but obviously it doesn't mean that her eyesight has been restored. So I think with that in mind, we'll definitely also have to use that as a springboard for her to kind of explore the history of the Uchiha and all that. It's like, oh, so how did my dad? Oh, your dad has your brother, your uncle's eyes. It's like, oh shit, and then we'll probably explore Sarada going down the Uchiha rabbit hole for the most part. So yeah, I'm definitely expecting that. And similar, if we're in the same vein or with the same, side character energy as Inojin getting some nice spotlight here, if we're going to kind of continue with that, I would expect Cho Cho to have like some, similar type of spotlight. I think when it comes down to like someone like say Shikadai though, he kind of has that recurring thing because I think he'll be going back and forth with Shikamaru, and especially if Shikamaru is going to be, how should I put it, if he's going to be a person of interest, or like if the feudal lord and the government are going to be antagonizing Shikamaru, I think we can tie in Shikadai getting recurring spotlight or panel time through that. So there's that potential to look forward to. So yeah, definitely. So there's that. Caution Koji, it's hard to say, right? Because of course, coming out of this chapter, he laid things out logically to Inojin. So I don't see any big conflicts between Caution Koji and the group coming out of this chapter and going forward. So I think we kind of maintain the status quo. Just things as usual when it comes on to the group right now and Caution Koji. So it'll be Inojin, Boruto, and them being the ones who can quote unquote know the future and act accordingly. So there's that. There's definitely that. What else could I say for like a potential next arc? Oh, we should probably like talk about, say, now that the future has changed and Ada hasn't been eaten and Himawari hasn't died, but like a lot of persons are saying, I'm wondering if it's a case where Inojin as well lost his eyes, because based on the dialogue that was there, it kind of seems to imply that Inojin is stealing himself to actually destroy the eyes, and then through this link, yeah, it might be a case that his eyes are gone, because it's not like I don't think Himawari, even with her special Jinchuriki scenario, I don't think she has the Jesus palms. So I think she probably would have stopped the bleeding and all of that. But it could be a case that he's lost his eyes. And with that in mind, just to kind of flip the scenario between, in the one of the previous timelines, we have Inojin creating the whole jutsu to help avenge Himawari. With Inojin kind of making this sacrifice, I'm wondering what it will push Himawari to do in the next arc. So there's that. And if it pushes her to do something, what does further control or further synergy with Kurama look like for her, really and truly? Little questions like that. Little questions like that. I mean, you could probably make an excuse, like, based on how things went in this chapter, that it could motivate a lot of the characters to actually do. I'm not saying that like a training arc or nothing, but I mean, it could motivate a lot of the characters to actually put something in place for the next arc from a combat ability perspective, maybe. I'm not really expecting Boruto to necessarily like have anything drastic. I am expecting maybe another conversation, like to see Momoshiki again. Definitely. Maybe you could give us some intel, something interesting, I hope. So there's that possibility. Um what I would love to see though is like from a scientific perspective, the fact that we have the Thorn Soul Bulb. I would love for Boruto to actually carry it to Amado for him to actually study a bit before potentially going back to the Ten Tails dimension. I don't is Boruto's is one of the symbols still in the Ten Tails dimension? I would imagine. Probably. Probably. But if not, it would be cool to see him carry this to Amado because going forward, I want even with this next arc, I want Amado to be more involved as well. Even though I know there's only so much he can do because at this point his hands are tied. Kawaki's kind of in the driver's seat when it comes on to Amado's current plans that we know about, which is funny to me because up to this day it feels like a lot of us, or if not all of us, still feel like Amado has this secret trump card, secret scheming Eisen level 4D chess plan that he intends to do. So, but all in all, I think if that's going to be the case, if we could start planting the seeds for that, probably get things a bit more. How should I put it? I'm thinking kind of like that mad scientist kind of vibe. Like you carry the Thorn Soul Bulb to Amado. Probably there's something about it's like, maybe just maybe I don't have to wait on Kawaki. Something along the lines of that. He tries something with it, it goes horribly wrong. I'm just saying some springboard to just get him more involved is something I think would be pretty cool as well. And I know it feels like I'm juggling a lot of things when it comes on to things that can potentially happen in the next arc, considering that arcs in general are like what on average for Two Blue Vortex so far, 5 to 8 chapters, 5 to 9 chapters. So, but I think it can be done. It can be done because I think the vibe that's been established like up to this point is that a lot of how Ikimoto does it, a lot of characters get screen time. You'll see what Boruto will see Kawaki, we see Himar, even if it's a 2 panel or a 1 page or something. But things are dynamic enough to kind of facilitate a lot of the characters kind of coming in. And again, I know 2026 there still hasn't been any word on the anime, which side note, next week is the 10-year anniversary for Boruto overall. Well, counting from the release of the Boruto manga in 2016. But kind of doing it, maintaining the pacing, kind of leaves room for the anime to help filling some stuff qualitatively. So yeah, so I'm just saying you can do it based on the pacing, can be done to juggle all of that. And of course, if Amano kind of starts doing stuff on the side, thanks to potential research on the Thorn Soul Bulb, it could lead to more, engaging conflict between him and the group, him and Kawaki, etc., etc. Because of course, if his daughter comes back, or if this experiment comes back as some new Otsutsuki that wants to destroy the planet and kill everybody, of course, that's going to put Amado and his daughter in, well, daughter, quote unquote, in conflict with Kawaki. So there's that. There's that. But I don't know what you guys think about that, but I think it would be pretty cool. So let me see. Thinking on it now. Sarada. Hidari, Amado, Cho Cho. It'd be interesting if they could probably bring in Troji just to, tie things back in with a potential Cho Cho getting spotlight for the next arc. Um, Potentially just Himawari shenanigans. Um, Potentially Momoshiki related stuff. Hopefully some intel. But outside of all of that, thinking about it now, what else? What could I say I would expect from? Well, Jura. Jura is kind of like the wild card in all of this, right? Because what does Jura do going forward now that Mamushi is done? And it's just him and Hidari in the grand scheme of things. I'm kind of theorizing like, well, no, it's not even a theory. We've kind of confirmed that, well, subtly, that the experiences of the other Shinju do seem to go back to Jura, like the emotional experiences at the very least. Because I remember, when was it? The whole Konohamaru and Matsuri like confrontation, and Jura was seen crying in one panel. So yeah, I think that's definitely going to be building up to something. When it comes on to the end game, when it's just Jura left, like on some Cell type type of Dragon Ball S type of deal, he gets, but in a more non-physical way. He gets the experiences of everything else, and then what does he do with it after that? Does he join the good side, and then the joining good side effect happens when the villain joins the good side and his stats aren't as high anymore type of deal? Who knows? Who knows? But I don't know. It's kind of hard to predict because when you have like an antagonist who can quote unquote kind of finish things off, but you kind of make it within his character, make it believable to the audience why he doesn't. It's kind of like, yeah, but Jura is just so ambiguous. But I guess it depends on like what kind of new knowledge he's kind of gained outside of getting Mamushi's experiences here. What kind of books he's been reading, and then what he takes from that. What does he do next? So that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's make it a bit interactive here. So I'm kind of specifically put it for 5 minutes for before persons can actually engage in the comment section here, or the chat. Even though it's a subscriber stream, but like I don't want to be just talking. Wait, bio, well gone. Up and running, up and running. Here making some predictions and expectations for the next story arc. Even though this arc has what I would expect like 1 or 2 more chapters left to kind of just wrap it up. Code will get his time. Yeah, there's that. Like I was saying earlier, I think we'll get a big Code flashback for this arc to kind of tie us in. Because it's not like he's found Kashin Goji. It's not like he's, well, I don't expect that he's any stronger in any significant way. And it's not like he can go up against Jura. He can't beat Boruto. Well, and I doubt he can beat Kawaki. So, yeah. How would you rank this arc so far in Two Blue Vortex? Like compared to like the previous arcs, and then like what do we consider the arcs in Two Blue Vortex so far? Like what, the Homecoming arc, the Shinju Invasion arc, the Mission to the Sand, and then this. I guess you could count that getting tongue twisted here. Count that as 4 arcs, essentially. Homecoming, Shinju Invasion, Sand Village, and then this. If I were to rank them, I would probably say Yeah, I mean, this arc isn't really done yet, technically speaking. But the homecoming arc, I would say, is a strong contender for like top two. Shinju invasion, because I'm trying to remember like specific details. Shinju invasion, of course, we have Boruto versus Mitsuki. Some nuances of the omnipotence. We have, of course, Himawari, Return of Kurama. Um, Sarada, some Sarada action. Boruto coming in. Thorn Soul Bulb, Jura. Lots of stuff in the arc there, really. Um, and of course, that arc ends with Boruto and Kawaki striking that alliance. Of course, the Sand Village. The highlights to me of the Sand Village are more so Sarada and her character, the nuances there, the Mangekyo Sharingan, of course. And of course the the end with Boruto versus Jura and Kawaki versus Jura. To be honest, I might have Shinju Invasion number one. I might have to think about it more, but just off the cuff, thinking about it, trying to recall from memory, I might have Shinju Invasion number one, Homecoming number two. I'm almost tempted to put this above Sun Village, to be honest. Because even though you have that nice nuance with Sarada and her character and her kind of, subconsciously holding herself back all this time, and the nuances of how her like relationships and how she viewed them and the Mangekyo and the ending fight. I think it kind of falls short with Konohamaru, to be honest, like kind of being disappointing, but even though it kind of falls within the lines of my expectation based on the current shinobi culture in terms of how he operated on that mission. In terms of the San shinobi, and you know having one of them die, but there's not really, it wasn't really emotionally resonant with me, really and truly. It was just, we get to see Sarada do badass shit and just the nuance of her character, really. So I'm almost tempted to put this current arc with Mamushi like above it. Like, in the grand scheme of things, Matsuri and Ryu weren't really that. I mean, the Shinju overall outside of Jura haven't been that interesting, like as and like what they represent is interesting, but overall, again, as I said, the phrase I would use, the stage presence hasn't really been gripping me, really. I think despite that, I would probably, even despite my disappointments with even Mamushi, I'd probably put Mamushi and his quote unquote stage presence above Ryu and Matsuri. So yeah, I'm tempted to put this arc above the Sand Village, to be honest. I think it provided enough stakes for a lot of the characters to do stuff, like be involved and to have a, I think to even have a side character get the win kind of just elevates this arc right now, to be honest. Yeah, man, Hidari is cool, to be honest, but to me, it always seemingly came down to Jura, Hidari, and potentially Mamushi, since Mamushi was kind of outside, of what we were seeing consistently in terms of panel time for the Shinju. Mamushi seemed like he was just outside of all of that. And coming to see this arc, Mamushi's just yeah, he has a OP ability, honestly, but again, as I said, it's just this contradictory experience with Shinju where it's like threatening and ass at the same time. It's just so conflicting in my head, to be honest, but not like. So that's the thing. Um. So yeah. pretty much, pretty much that. So right now, I think yeah, this arc is top three. This Homecoming and Shinju Invasion for the most part. As I said, I'm hoping if I think if they kind of play their cards right, based on what I've been describing so far for a potential set of events for the next arc, when it comes down to Sarada, kind of exploring the Uchiha clan, based on the whole conflict between her and Hidari, which obviously I think is coming. Based on Hidari's connection with Sasuke, he can tap into Sasuke's memories. The Mangekyo Sharingan, it could be a reason, a little springboard for her to kind of, show us what she knows about the Uchiha clan, kind of talk more about it, how she feels about it, the history of the clan, etc., etc. Make her have a bit more. She has depth, but I think it can be so much more. So that's the thing. Include the sciencey aspect. Let's bring the Thorn Soul Bulb to Amado. Let's get Amado involved. Let's Amado have a mad scientist moment. Let's have him find an alternative to relying on Kawaki. Let's make that eventually springboard into some other conflict down the line. Let's set it up with that. On the side character energy, let's include Cho Cho. Let's kind of play that dynamic off between her and Sarada. We can give an extension of Cho Cho being Choji. Let's give him like a 1 panel or 2 panel something. What else would I say? Himawari. Let's see what can happen in terms of progressing, getting more details with terms of her situation with Kurama. Let's get Momoshiki. Let's get some more intel. Let's get something like all that's. I think all of those things combined, we could have a very solid like next arc, and we just all we have to do is just make the arc extra. Well, yeah, extra long. Like not extra. It's just longer than usual. Maybe like a solid year. 12 chapters, which is crazy, I know, given that, as I said, chapter like arc lengths tend to be like 5 to 9 chapters, it seems. So having it be 12 chapters, I think, would be pretty solid, pretty damn solid. So yeah, pretty much that in terms of like, I don't know if there's anything else I would want to expect from like the next story arc. I mean, maybe something with Sumeri here and there. But outside of all of what I've mentioned so far, I don't think there's anything else I could potentially say in terms of expectations. I mean, considering that Code is back, I'm hoping it's not like a one and done, like he just appears in next chapter and then he just goes back into hiding again. I'm hoping because it's been a while since he left the story, right? Since chapter last time we saw Code, I believe, was chapter 14, I believe, when Ryu was born. Yeah, he's been gone for over a year, almost. It's kind of almost starting to lean almost towards 2 years, actually. Almost. Yeah. Thinking about it, almost 2 years. So I'm hoping Code gets like some decent amount of recurring screen time. So that's the thing. It would really suck if he just appears and then goes again. So, just that. But outside of that, I don't know. I mean, again, next week Thursday is the 7th of May. So from next week Thursday into the weekend basically is, oh dang, that's Mother's Day weekend. I need to go down. When is the anniversary? List of Boruto chapter releases. When did chapter 1 actually come out? May 9th. Continuous Boruto. But that's Mother's Day weekend. I wonder if, because I obviously need to visit my mom. May 9th, that's a Saturday. I wonder if like Mello and Bar and all the others would be available for an early stream because I might not be available for the weekend. I mean, it would be nice to stream on the day, but if I'm not gonna be available, I'd want to actually get the stream out. I mean, I could always unlist it and then post it on the day for the most part, if anything. But yeah, next week definitely need to organize for. I mean, I've been saying it for a little while now, like Boruto 10th anniversary stream. So yeah, I'm personally not really expecting anything too grand for next week. I mean, the obvious things are like a Boruto like anime return trailer, teaser, something. But I I don't know. I'm tempted because I think it wasn't. I think it's a stream I did in March when I was talking about. I've noticed that the Naruto and the Boruto and the Shueisha channels on YouTube have been putting out a lot of like Boruto stuff recently, like in terms of like manga, like trailers and stuff. Not for like saying like, they do those special like manga chapters. Let me see if I can just pull up one just to show you what I'm talking about specifically. Uh, let's see. Naruto. Uh, official channel. Yeah, they're putting on some of these special videos, but there should be another channel that's there as well. I actually think I did it for, yeah, these ones that they did. They're putting out quite a bit. So, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised again if next week we get like maybe a teaser trailer for the anime, something, just something to kind of let us know that from the animation standpoint, it really and truly is coming back at some point. So yeah. But again, fingers crossed. I'm not really like confirming, and I don't think there's anything like super and to indicate anything on the Naruto official website. Just App Store for Ultimate Ninja Storm 1's mobile version, yada yada, but nothing talking about the upcoming, like, say, Boruto 10-year anniversary. I guess it's whatever for the most part. It's so no way because for the series that I mainly cover on this channel is like, But I guess we can talk more on that for the most part when it comes on to a stream for next week, potentially Thursday, as I said. Thursday, Friday, but I'll try to reach out to the guys over the course of the next few days to kind of try organizing it from now. And hopefully that can be a pretty hype and pretty, interesting stream to just reflect back on 10 years of Boruto, the pitfalls, what he did right, the disappointments, expectations. And of course, naturally, I mean, without a doubt, it can't be avoided comparing it to Naruto in certain regards from in all sorts of perspectives, franchise development, how it stands, does it stand by itself, can it stand by itself? No. Especially in this changing culture. And based on its current level of like success, or based on the position it is at now, where it's just a manga going on, there's no anime, there's no games, and all games still have that connection to say it still needs the Naruto branding. Like it can't, like right now you can't escape it. But with how the culture has changed when it comes down to anime and manga, for Boruto, should we consider that a failure? That's the thing. You gotta look at the times because, like, for example, one time, like me, like watching and reading Naruto, like at one point every year it's a new Naruto movie. Like I don't know if some of you guys remember that if you're around that time. Like every year is like a new Naruto movie. The whole cliche, let's put clips of the movie in the current um set episodes opening for the anime and promote the movie and all of that. And obviously you're not seeing that now, even when the Boruto anime was going on. But obviously it doesn't seem like it's a case where it's a current culture. Like every year studios are doing anime movies, with a few exceptions. I think more recently, like say like My Hero Academy, at one point maybe. But yeah, so just little nuances to the conversation when it comes on to Boruto and its 10 years. So, but of course, again, we'll talk more about that in the coming stream. In the coming stream. So yeah. But outside of that, even coming out of this arc from Boruto, I know power scaling, power scaling. I'm kind of expecting some kind of statement by Jura or something to kind of, or some other character to kind of excuse or kind of justify, like, you know, why certain characters could do what they did in this arc. Because I know, like, Cho Cho doing her thing, yada yada yada. Sometimes it's the optics of things kind of look away, you know. Because even coming into this arc, I was one of the person that said, okay, if he's getting dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber, the more he spits, but he maintains the same strength, it could be a nice excuse for why other characters can participate. But sometimes I look at the fact that this isn't a story that's in isolation, right? I like to bring back things to the Ten Tails and the fact that narratively the story would want to tell me that these characters are stronger than the Ten Tails that was in the war, but it's like the Ten Tails in the war kind of went off, seemingly went off instinct as well, and after these characters, you wouldn't expect them to be able to do much in that case, right? So that's the thing. That is the thing. But power scaling discussions, eh? Am I right? But going forward though, I don't think it'll be necessarily the next arc. Maybe the arc even after that. Because again, it does seem like they're planting the seeds for a build up to something significant with Jura when it comes on to the experiences of the other Shinju. At some point I am kind of expecting for Momoshiki and Jura, like Jura to actually speak with Momoshiki at some point to kind of get some more depth to the whole Otsutsuki Ten Tails being the seeds type of dynamic. Something for us to get more invested in, because again, it feels like we're living in the shadow of the Otsutsuki. Again, referring to the video I did, kind of just discussing, you know, are the Otsutsuki dead? And it goes back to the whole Ishiki kind of talking to Code, saying like, you know, the Otsutsuki will can't die out, which is kind of odd to me if we have like a, in a world of them, or you know, multiple of them throughout the galaxy, which is crazy to say when it comes down to a Naruto series, right? But it just gave such a strong impression, like there's not many left, and it's really untrue. Really untrue. The story is only living off the interpersonal and, you know, small. Well, not small, but the interpersonal conflicts that the group is having, and the madness on unpredictable, unforeseen circumstances that arise from those interpersonal dynamics or conflicts. Really and truly, it feels like the series is kind of just living off that. And you know, like you're watching Invincible, and like, you know, you're seeing all these other, you know, side plots, you know, robots and other things happening on Earth, but you know, like the Viltrumite thing is like lurking in the background. That's like the main thing in the background, right? And you know, you do eventually get bits and pieces of it till you get segments where it's the main thing. But like for Boruto, it just feels like we haven't really gotten to that segment where it's the main thing. And it could be a case where, Two Blue Vortex, or at this point in Two Blue Vortex at the least, is just a stepping stone to that. But it would be nice to get more little inklings of it. Little setups. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I am saying. Mm-mm-mm. Do, 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 do. But other than that, don't think I have. Well, then again, thinking about it, I mean, I guess the only other thing would really and truly be maybe Kash and Koji. Maybe Kash and Koji and could actually come face to face in this coming arc. Or it could be a case by the end of the arc, it's like set up for that. Could be a case of that. And also, who knows? Maybe Damon as well might. The fact that it's not like he was losing, but he was getting tired. The fact that he couldn't really overcome this by himself like he probably wanted to. I'm wondering if that's going to inspire him to do anything. Because for as powerful as he was, his strength alone wasn't necessarily winning him the day here. So the fact remains that his sister could have been eaten, consumed, etc., etc. So I'm wondering how that's going to affect his dynamic with everybody else going forward, or he just remains the same. There's that possibility as well, or something to potentially look forward to. So, yeah, pretty much just that. But I think that's all. I mean, if you guys don't necessarily have any back and forth comments, I think I've kind of exhausted most of what I wanted to see in the next arc, or what I would expect for the next arc. I guess anything else I could say is just going to be me babbling and repeating myself here. So, yeah. Or even thinking about, who knows, maybe just maybe Boruto could be the one to sit down with Sarada and tell her about the Uchiha. Reason being, again, I find it hard to believe Sasuke tells Boruto about the Mangekyo Sharingan, and the fact that obviously Sarada is going to be useful and she'll be able to intuitively or instinctively come to understand what her abilities are. I find it hard to believe Sasuke doesn't give Boruto any more details, so I do suspect that Boruto might have some additional information to sit down with Sarada and give her as well. So that could be a next thing to look forward to, potentially. I mean, Boruto is a resident Uchiha, like, ambassador, right? So, just that. Just that. How long have I been doing? Okay. Well, anyway, I think I'm going to call it that, guys. I am starving, so I definitely want to get something to eat. So yeah, yes, this is perfect time. Not a long stream. Decent length for anybody to kind of just go over and get back my thoughts in terms of my expectations for the coming arc. So yeah. But anyway, for those of you that kind of stop by, pass through, or I'll be passing through afterwards, after this stream goes up, shout out to you, Bio, Akarza, Erosanin97, shout out to you guys. So, yeah. Let me know your thoughts. If there's anything I missed, of course, let me know. And as I said, I'll try to organize that special 10-year anniversary stream for you guys. So, yeah. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next one. So stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.